Hey guys, it's Nifty, and today I'm going to be doing a quick tutorial on how to use TSB or TheShitBot. So for those of you who don't know, TSB is a sneakers bot and is one of the best out there, and many people have hit sneakers across many different regions using this bot. So for this tutorial, I'm going to be going through each tab seen at the top, going from right to left, and explaining in depth what each tab does. So without further ado, let's get right into it. So starting off with the settings tab, this is where you should head to first when you first download the bot, since a lot of the bot depends on the correct setup, which is done here. So the first thing you'll see is the license key, which I have blurred out. Right next to the license key, there's a button for you to deactivate your license right here. And what this allows you to do is to use TSB on a different computer or server. The second line under the license key is where you can paste a Discord webhook link, which is where any checkout or decline notifications will be sent to. And you can test using this test button next to it right here. Moving on to the default Nike region. Here you'll select the Nike region that you'll be botting most frequently. If you are from Canada, the region you'll be likely botting is Sneakers CA, so I would be selecting Canada from here. If you're from the US, you would be botting Sneakers US. For the sake of this tutorial, I would be selecting the United States, as this is where the majority of drops will happen. If you don't keep the default Nike region consistent throughout drops, the accounts you use will have a higher chance of being clipped, and I'll be going over what this means later on. Over here, the NSWBA badge limit is the number of open Chrome browsers TSB will open when running NSWBA tasks during releases. It's recommended that you set this number to the exact number of accounts you have, so that it will open enough browsers either through your front end or the back end for all of your accounts and tasks to go through. So for example, if I have 100 accounts, I'll set this number to 100. If I have 200 accounts, I'll change this number to 200. That's pretty self-explanatory. Just make sure you have this number set to the number of accounts you have. Down here, you can set your default proxy list, which will be important when trying to load the calendar, which we'll get to in a little bit. Finally, over here, we can open up the cookie jar by clicking this button. Cookies are very important for using TSB and botting sneakers. Without cookies, your task will not be able to get onto the site and enter your accounts. I recommend generating around 3 cookies for every task you're planning to run. And in order to do this, all you need to do is select a proxy list over here and click this start button. Once you feel like you've generated enough tasks or cookies, you can just click this pause button and your cookies will be generated and saved. Between every drop, I suggest you delete your cookies and generate new ones for every new drop. Moving to the left, we have the Orders tab. This is a very simple tab where you can just see the order numbers for all of your successful checkouts. While this tab could be helpful in consolidating all of the order information into one area, I'll explain why this tab is not very helpful if you're following account preservation rules. I'll go more into detail when we get to the accounts tab, but essentially you won't be able to see the order history until you test the accounts using the TSB account testing feature. And testing accounts is one of the quickest ways to get your accounts clipped, so I don't suggest you test them just to see your order history. The next tab is the COPS tab, and this is also a very simple tab. This is very similar to other bots where you can see the history of all your successful checkouts using TSB. This tab is the calendar tab, where you'll be able to see useful information such as the name of the shoe, the method of release, the style color or the PID, the retail price, as well as the release date. If you don't currently see anything showing up in this tab, then it means you haven't correctly added a default Nike region or a default proxy list. This can be done in the settings tab here, as stated before. In the default proxy list, you don't actually have to have proxies, as you can use your localhost and this will work as well. Once you set up these 2 items, all you have to do is click refresh and wait for your calendar to load in. In terms of the method of release, Sneakers generally has 3 types of release methods. The first being a flow release, which is a first come first served release where the speed at which you enter your accounts matters. Flow is generally used for general releases and non-hyped items such as Air Forces, as seen down here. The second release method is known as Leo. This is where users will have 3 minutes to enter a raffle, and once the 3 minutes are up, Nike will choose which accounts were selected to purchase the shoe. This is the most popular method of release and is used for the normal hyped shoes such as Jordans and Dunks. The final release method is known as Dan. And this is very similar to Leo, except instead of a 3-minute raffle, it is a 10-minute raffle. This release method is used for the very hyped items such as Off-White or Travis Scott collabs. Out of these 3 methods, Dan is the hardest to cop, since everyone will have 10 minutes to enter the accounts, decreasing the chance that Nike chooses your accounts to purchase. The final feature that you can find here in the calendar tab is the estimated stock numbers. If you hover over a shoe, a stock breakdown will pop up. For example, if I wanted to go for these dunks and I didn't know which sizes to prioritize, I can hover over the shoe and the stock for each size will pop up. Here we can see that anything in between the size 8 and 14 will have high stock, so I should be prioritizing these sizes first. The proxy tab is also pretty self-explanatory in terms of creating proxies. All you need to do is click the new proxy button, create a proxy list name, and then paste in your proxies. You can also check that you entered your proxies properly by clicking this check format button. A really cool feature about TSB is the ability to split proxies. What this means is that TSB will split all the proxies you entered into the list into their own individual proxy group. So if you wanted to use the same proxy for the same accounts each time, you could do this by using the split proxies feature. So as you can see here, when I click split proxies then create new proxy list, it will split each proxy into their own separate proxy group. An important thing to keep in mind is that you want to be using different proxies for generating cookies and for running your tasks. For example, if I have 2 proxy groups, I would use one of them to generate cookies and the other to run my tasks. If you have both residential proxies and ISP proxies, this is very easy to do, since you can just use the ISP proxies to generate cookies and then generate residential proxies to use for your tasks. If you only have one or the other, make sure that the proxies you created for generating cookies are not in the same proxy group as the group you plan on using for your tasks. So again, to select the proxy group for your cookies, all you need to do is open the cookie generator window and select your desired proxy group here. Many of you have been asking in my quick group which proxies work best for sneakers. The answer is, as long as the proxies are unbanned, all proxies will be fine. Since the majority of draws will be through the Leo release method, speed is not a factor in body sneakers. Personally, I have been using residential proxies and they have been getting through fine, however ISP proxies work as well. It's just a matter of trial and error and seeing which proxies work for you. This tab is very similar to every other bot, where you'll be adding your billing and shipping information. To create a new profile, all you need to do is click the new profile button up here and you should see this window pop up. Here you can enter your payment info, the shipping details, and the billing details. When botting sneakers, you can use virtual credit cards such as Privacy, Revolut, Capital One Eno, and for my Canadian botters, Koho and Stack work as well. It is important, however, that you jig your profiles properly, as Nike will cancel duplicate orders sent to the same address. In order to jig your address, there are multiple different ways to do this. I've created a test profile to make it easier to understand how different jigging methods work. The easiest way to jig your address is to add letters or numbers to the front of the address. I have found success in using unit numbers in front of my actual address, so for example, I would put unit 1, unit 2, unit 3, etc. You can also use house, apartment, or room, and this will all work as well. You can also put 3 to 4 random letters in front of your address, and this will work very similarly. For example, these 4 letters, these 4 letters, and these will all work. It is not recommended to do this when you're living in an apartment or a condo complex where the unit or the apartment numbers actually matter. If you live in an apartment or a condo, you can change the last part of the address. For example, street can be written as ST, STR, ST dot, STR dot, and any combination of these would work. If you're a member of the TSB Discord, you will know that they recommend running a 1-to-1-to-1 task to account to profile ratio. This means for every task, you're using a different account and a different profile. In my opinion, this is a little bit overboard, and you can definitely get away with running up to 5-to-5-to-1 task to account to profile ratio, meaning that for every profile, you can run 5 tasks. Keep in mind, however, that you are still running a 1-to-1 task to account ratio, meaning that you can only run as many tasks as you have accounts. You can also export and import your profiles using these 2 buttons up here if you do decide to use TSB on a different computer or a server and you don't want to spend hours setting up your profiles again. You can also export your profiles into a profile converter such as AYCD or Kylin to change the format of the profiles to be used with other bots. Here in the Accounts tab, you'll be able to import all of the accounts you have either created yourself or purchased from an account provider. In order to add your profiles, all you need to do is click the New Account button and copy and paste the account information in the format shown here, and then click Create New Account. The reason you may want to purchase Nike accounts from providers instead of making these accounts yourself is that Nike requires SMS verification with their accounts, meaning you need to have a unique phone number that can receive SMS text for each account. While creating your accounts is an option, most people don't have hundreds of phone numbers they can receive SMS text with, meaning the maximum number of accounts you can create will likely be no more than 10. There are two different types of accounts that you can purchase, the first being accounts created using a real email address, and the second being accounts created using a catch-all. Between these two options, I highly recommend using accounts created using a catch-all, since the majority of the time when using accounts created with a real email address, you won't have email access. This means if your accounts get clipped, you won't be able to reset the password and get the account back. Also, without email access, you won't know if you received an email confirmation or shipping confirmation for any successful COPs. On the other hand, when buying accounts created using a catch-all, you'll have access to the emails, meaning if your accounts get clipped, you'll be able to reset these. This is the biggest advantage when using catch-all accounts over real accounts, since these accounts can technically last forever. It is important that you only use your Nike accounts in one region and one region only. If you use a Nike account for multiple regions, it will be clipped and the password will be reset. Make sure when you are purchasing accounts, you're purchasing accounts that you can actually use in your region, or you're purchasing accounts that can be used in all regions, but only use it for a single region and no others. You can also test your account's TSB by selecting Actions All, and then clicking Check All. Before you do this, however, make sure you have your default Nike region correctly set, and if you are testing multiple accounts, you're using proxies and not your localhost, as checking your localhost will get the accounts clipped. You'll also need to generate cookies to test your accounts, which can be done with the cookie generator as seen before. While TSB does offer this option to test your accounts, many Nike account providers highly suggest against testing the accounts at all, as this is relatively pointless, and the risk of getting the accounts clipped outweighs any benefits of testing them. Make sure you are following the account provider's account preservation rules set in their Discord. Finally, we have the Tasks tab. Before you're able to create any tasks, you need to have all of your accounts, profiles, proxies, and settings properly set up. There are two types of tasks that you can create, NSA and NSWBA. NSA is used for Nike Desktop, while NSWBA is used for Nike Sneakers. In this tutorial, I will only be going over NSWBA tasks, as is likely the mode you'll be using to bot sneakers. To create a task, navigate to the New Task button here, and this window should pop up. If you've used other bots before, some of these sections should be very familiar to you, while other sections may be new. Firstly, you must select the Nike region, and make sure this is the same region you set up in the default Nike region in your settings. Next, since we are using NSWBA, we will require the product link instead of the SKU. To find the product link, either consult with your code group, or you can find the link yourself. To do this, all you want to do is navigate to the Nike Sneakers website. To get to the Sneakers website, enter the normal Nike website, and add /launch at the end to get to the Sneakers website. Once you're here, you can find the shoe you want to bot, and copy and paste the link right into the bot. Next, you'll need to select the size you want to go for. To select a specific size or specific sizes, enter those sizes separated by a comma. If you want to select a random size, either leave the box blank or enter RA. Select the profiles you want to use for the tasks, as well as the accounts. Select the proxy list that you have set aside for the tasks, and ensure that this proxy list is not the same list that you used to generate the cookies. Now, this area is where the unique features to TSB comes in. I'll go through each checkbox and explain what each one does. I would always keep required login checked so that each task will log into the accounts when you start the task. For schedule task, if you think you will not be at your computer during the drop time, you can also schedule the task by clicking this checkbox. This format is using hour, minute, second, and then AM or PM. Again, as mentioned, I will only be going over NSWBA tasks, which are recommended for sneakers drops. So for the sake of this tutorial, and for running sneakers drops, I would keep this box checked. For refill Nike info, this is required if you are running fresh accounts, as this will save the shipping and billing information from the accounts and save it to the Nike account. If this is unchecked for fresh accounts, Nike will not be able to check out as there will not be any billing or shipping information saved. Now for the final checkbox, if headless is unchecked, TSB will open a separate Chrome browser for each task that is running. So if you have 200 tasks and you have headless unchecked, then TSB will open 200 Chrome browsers. As you can imagine, this will be very resource intensive and will likely crash your computer or server. By keeping headless unchecked, only the first 2 tasks will open a Chrome browser, and the rest of the tasks will run in the backend. This is much less resource intensive, and I highly recommend you keep headless checked. Once you have set up all this information, just click Create New Task, and your tasks are ready to go. The final thing you need to do is to generate cookies. I recommend generating cookies 1 hour before the drop time. Again, I recommend generating 3 cookies for every task you plan on running. Now, all you have to do is click Start. I recommend starting 15 to 20 minutes before the actual drop time, as this will allow your accounts adequate time to log in and get their entries loaded. I don't recommend using this button and clicking Start All, but rather I suggest manually starting each task one by one by using this Start button right here. While this may seem like a lot of work, it is much better and the chance of all the accounts getting their entries will be much higher. If you aren't sure if your account successfully got their entries in, you should see sleeping until launch time under the status. And this is how you know if your accounts are successfully entered. If your accounts aren't showing sleeping until launch time, you can check the logs of the task by clicking these 3 buttons here and clicking Logs. If you are able to decipher what these logs mean, then that's great. You can either fix the problem now or for the next drop. If you're unsure as to what the logs mean, you can copy the logs and open a ticket in the TSB Discord and they will be happy to help. However, the majority of the time, the reason why your accounts are not successfully entered is because there is an issue with the proxies being used. To fix an issue with the proxies, you can either add new proxies to the proxy list by going to the Proxies tab, clicking this Edit button, and pasting in new proxies. Another way to fix this proxy issue is by clicking the 3 buttons again, Set Proxy List, and change your proxy list here. After you've fixed as many of the issues as possible, or the accounts are successfully entered, then all you have to do now is wait for the results of the tasks. I hope that this tutorial has helped you understand how to use TSB to bot sneakers, and if you have any questions or any suggestions for future tutorials, just leave a comment down below or DM me on Discord and I will try my best to get these tutorials out for you. Thanks for watching and see you guys next time.